Making these boots was actually a lot easier than you'd think, and I do have a full step-by-step tutorial on how I did it, but I just wanted to give you a quick run through of the process so that you can see how easy it is for a pair of boots like this to come together. First thing that I did was create the patterns. Now to do this, I used a shoemaking last, not a boot making last, because I like to keep it beginner friendly, and a lot more people have shoemaking lasts than boot making lasts, and in my opinion you don't really need boot making lasts anyway. So in order to get that pattern, I actually built up the leg of the last using paper, and that helps me to get an idea of, you know, how high up I actually want the boots to sit. More importantly though, it also gives me the opportunity to measure my calf and make sure that this boot actually fits my leg measurements, which is just so unbelievably handy. If you've got slightly bigger calves and you find it just really challenging to buy boots off the shelf that fit you, then this is the way to go. So once I've created the pattern, I always do a mock-up, especially when I'm doing boots that go up into the leg area. I really like to make sure that they fit my measurements and that there's a little bit of room for movement. So once I've done a mock-up and I'm happy with the fit, I can dive straight into making the boots. So the first thing I'm gonna do is cut out all of my pieces. So I've got all of my gold upper pieces here, but I also have my lining on the inside as well. And I need to make sure I've got a zip that fits. Once you've cut out all of your leather and your lining, you can go ahead and stitch all the pieces together and then pop those uppers to the side. Next thing we're going to do is cut out our insoles, making sure that they fit the base of our lasts perfectly. So once you've got all those pieces, we're going to start by lasting the lining. That's the process of stretching the upper over the last, and we're going to attach the lining only to the base of the insoles. Once we've done that, we'll put in any stiffeners that we need to make sure that they hold their shape when we take the last out of the boot. Next, we'll go ahead and put the upper layer down, attaching that onto the insole as well. We're almost there now. Next, we're going to trim any excess from the base, add any cork filler if we need to, and get our soles glued on. At this point, we can remove our lasts from the boots and screw our heels in through the insole board. Last but not least, we are going to want to put some comfort inside those shoes. So we're going to put a nice padded insole sock inside the insole so that we've got a nice bit of padding under the foot. And there you have it. That's the process of making a beautiful gold boot like this. If you want to try for yourself, I do have a very detailed step-by-step tutorial within my online footwear masterclass, and I hope you've enjoyed this video. In this video, I'm going to make this awesome pair of gold ankle boots. I actually made a pair of these for one of my best friend's weddings, which was on a farm. And I got so many requests for a tutorial, so here it is. The main thing to consider with these boots is that I've created a seam which goes all the way down the front and then off to the inside. And the sort of main benefit of a pattern like that is that you don't have any seams on the toe area of the boot. I've used a really beautiful gold cowhide. I used a soft lambskin for the lining, a chunky zipper, and of course I've used a pretty high heel here, but keep in mind you can choose any heel height you want. I also used a square-toed last, but if you don't have a square-toed last, you can watch one of the videos on how to build up your lasts. And that's about it really. Let's dive in and get started on the first video, which is going to be pattern making. In this video, I'm going to go through how we're going to make a master pattern for our boot. Now, this can be a little tricky, so stick with me. I am going to go through a couple of measurements first. You should have already taken your measurements. I have decided that I'm going to do a high heel ankle boot. So the height of which I want my boot to be is 16 centimeters. You can choose whatever you want. This is just the decision that I've made. So my A measurement, which is from the bottom of the last to the height of the boot that I want, is 16 centimeters. You'll see me looking over here because I've got my measurements written down. My next measurement is the circumference of my leg at the top of the boot. Now I have done 23 centimeters as my direct measurement, but I'm going to add 2 centimeters to that just to give a little bit of extra give for the boot. And finally, I've got my ankle measurement, which is the circumference of my ankle, which is 20 centimeters. And again, I am going to add 2 centimeters just to give me a little extra give. I have in front of me the last that I have chosen to use, and you can see I've just taped up one half of it. We're going to be creating our master pattern here, and I'm actually going to start building up the leg of the boot using paper. First of all, we're just going to be making that half. And I'm actually going to half my measurements because the measurements, remember, are the circumference, but for the sake of making this master pattern, we only need half of that because we're just doing this one half of the boot. Now, before we start building up the leg, what I always do is I take the heel that I'm going to use and just lightly put it in place so that I can get the correct angle to build up. If I were to put that flat like that and start building it up, I'd be building up at this angle, which of course when we put it upright would look something like that, which we don't want. I have got in front of me some paper, and I always like to scrunch up my paper because I just find that it sort of holds itself upright a bit better and is slightly more malleable when I'm trying to create this shape. Okay, I am now going to start building up. So we'll grab some masking tape, place it on the edge of the paper, and start working our way up the last.